NMH at 1 highlights the news making waves ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. Here are the news headlines. Shell Southgate service station reopened by Vivo Energy Namibia. Fuel prices drop ahead of festive season. And questions as first family graces COP28. I am Diana Master. Midday News Update coming right up. A high-security presence with at least 3 officials from the intelligence unit was the order at the High Court where the accused in the fish rod bribery scandal appeared this morning to plead for their trial. Former Justice Minister Saki Shangala and his co-accused James Hatukulipi and Ricardo Gustavo will represent themselves. In another update, fuel prices in Namibia will drop by $1 Namibian and 30 cents per litre tomorrow, the Ministry of Mines and Energy said in a statement. In Walvis Bay, the price of petrol will be $21 Namibian and 58 cents per litre, diesel 50 ppm will be $21 Namibian and 85 cents per litre, and diesel 10 ppm would be $22 Namibian and 5 cents a litre. Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break. Stay with NMH at 1.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
In visual news this afternoon, the iconic Shell Southgate service station was reopened by Vivo Energy Namibia last week to take its place as the flagship of their bullish expansion in Namibia. Vivo Energy Chief Executive Officer Stan Mittelman, the Frenchman who flew in from London for the occasion, outlined the group's commitment to growth in his remarks. Chair James Wilson compiled this video.
This afternoon, it is a big event for us. It is a big event because such a project is a big project. Unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity to be associated to grand opening of big projects like that. This project is quite iconic of what we try to do at Vivo. We have embarked, something like I would say 2 years ago, we have embarked in a quite bullish strategy of growth really to serve our clients and our customers better. So when it comes to growth, of course you can look at different ways to do that. You can look at increasing your geographical footprint. Probably some of you know that we are in the process of finalizing a transaction, the acquisition of Engen in South Africa and in some big countries around South Africa, in particular, of course, Namibia. So that's a way, of course, of growing our activities. There is another way to do it. It's to look at expanding our businesses in a given country. We managed last few months ago to finalize here in Namibia the acquisition of Gasit. I think George is around. Vivo Energy was not at all in the business of LPG before in Namibia. So we have, with our partner George here, we made the decision to work together to integrate this activity to Vivo Energy. There is, of course, the possibility of growing. In our jargon, we say organically our network of stations. Every year, throughout the continent, African continent, Vivo Energy construct 140 to 150 new petrol stations. And then there is a way to do things like this project. But this project is very iconic.
Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review segment on the other side of this. Stay tuned.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. Starting us off on the Namibian Sun front page, State House insisted yesterday that President Hage Geingob and First Lady Monica Geingob personally paid for their children's trip to COP28 in Dubai, but questions linger about the motive for including them on a trip where government seeks to tie down deals with foreign investors. Information circulating in the public domain indicates that Geingob's daughters Dangos and Nangula Geingob's dukes, as well as First Lady Geingob's businessman's son Nino Kalondo and daughter Kayla Ilago are on the trip. On the paper's page 3, a 2,835-hectare farm in the Otjozondjupa region that was allocated to resettle 37 families is sufficient if beneficiaries utilize it to its maximum potential. Land Reform Minister Karl Schletwein said this in response to questions raised in Parliament regarding the resettlement of the families from the Hochveld area to Farm Otjizadu number 53 in the Otjozondjupa region in March 2015. Schletwein said resettlement involves the voluntary relocation of individuals from an area with marginal agricultural conditions and poor social infrastructure to a place or area designated by the government where better land and social amenities can be provided. Moving over to the front page of the Republican, more than 500 Ovahimba from all over the Kunene region gathered on Thursday at a settlement just before Epupa to say goodbye to the late Koos Kunene Verwey. Hundreds of people stood in a guard of honor in Opuo along the main road while his body was transported to Epupa. On the paper's page 3, the Judicial Service Commission will conduct public interviews for the first time with candidates for vacant judgeships in the High Court this coming Friday. This with the aim of promoting transparency and accountability. This includes interviews with 3 candidates on the shortlist: Acting Judge Philanda Christian, Advocate Slekson Makando, and Advocate Beatrix the Hunter. The panel members for the interviews have already been determined and will consist of 5 members of the Judicial Service Commission. The Allgemeine Zeitung reports that a murder trial has finally begun after 6 years. In January 2018, the burnt bodies of a German couple were found in their burnt-down house on their farm near Gobabis. 7 months later, the alleged murderers were finally charged. Yesterday, almost 6 years later, the trial began. The paper's page 3 also reports that for the first time, the public can attend selection interviews for the vacant judgeships at the High Court. This has been decided by the Judicial Service Commission, which makes the selection. After the break, we continue with our newspaper review.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Chobi Video Legis die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik kan byt.
Let's continue right along with our newspaper review. Namibian Police Inspector General Joseph Shikongo says the police are about to reach a target of attaining gender equality in leadership positions for both genders, with 40% women in management positions. This is what leads on the Namibian newspaper's front page. A total of 4,683 officers have been promoted effective 1 December during the first phase of the promotion. On the paper's page 3, the community of Omaruru fears that the town would run dry next year, forcing it to depend on water imported from other areas to survive. This comes after the Omaruru Town Council recently informed its residents that it is in the process of expanding its groundwater extraction capabilities by adding 2 new boreholes in the Omaruru River to the existing 9. This was necessitated by the town's growing population and rapid development. With little over a year left before vacating the highest office in the land, President Hage Geingob said he is leaving behind a solid legacy for all to see, while raising concern about how tribalism is tearing the country apart. Geingob made these remarks in response to a query from New Era regarding the legacy he aspires to leave behind. New Era's page 3 reports that repeat pregnancies are one of the reasons why girls drop out of schools in the Ohangwena region, it has been revealed. Statistics provided by the Executive Director of Education, Arts and Culture for 2022 indicated that the Ohangwena region tops the bill with the largest number of dropouts for both male and female learners. The region saw 501 girls leave school prematurely last year, while the number of boys stands at 1,118. Moving over to Market Watch, corporates are more reluctant to borrow under the current economic conditions, characterized by a relatively high interest rate environment and low consumer confidence. Credit extension to individuals is stronger by comparison, but continues to trend well below inflation, according to IJG Securities. With interest to be cut before mid-2024, we remain of the view that we do not anticipate a significant improvement in the overall private sector credit extension growth in the short term, IJG added. After the break, we discussed the Ohana's Renewable Energy and Development Trust's 40-kilowatt solar power plant and agricultural break in economic news. Stick around.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with the entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
The Ohana's Renewable Energy and Development Trust's 40-kilowatt solar power plant and agricultural project valued at 1.2 million Namibian dollars was inaugurated last Thursday. The project is located in the heart of Ohana's with approximately 2,500 residents, providing the community with a necessary boost to improve their living conditions. Horticulture is employed in this remote settlement in the dry south to ensure a livelihood. About 90 gardens have been established in residents' yards, according to Regional Councillor Densia Swart. Pioneering Project Jochen Ruba, a networking engineer, described the project as a groundbreaking development thanks to the first of its kind mini network with an input and output meter, as well as a relevant electricity control board agreement. The trust invoice for the generated power is sent to the Hatdub Regional Council at about 10% less than what the council would have had to pay NamPower. This could mean a monthly savings of up to 10,000 Namibian dollars for the settlement's sustainability, he said. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 23.68 to the British pound, 20.34 to the euro, 18.78 to the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 63 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. All of these selected NSX stock closing prices maintained. Trustco Group Holdings Limited stocks took a dip of 2%, while local index maintained and overall index closed on a downturn of 0.41%. All commodities are down save for Brent crude oil, which took an upturn of 0.64%, now trading at $78.88 per barrel. The Mozambican government plans to hire almost 3,000 teachers next year and enroll about 10 million students. This story and more news from the African continent after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My .NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent here on NMH at 1. The Mozambican government plans to hire almost 3,000 teachers next year, enroll about 10 million students, and build 800 classrooms, according to targets defined in the budget proposal for 2024, consulted on Friday by LUSA. According to the documents supporting the proposal for the Economic and Social Plan and State Budget for 2024, the goal is to achieve a net enrollment rate for 6-year-old students in grade 1 of 98.9%. In addition to the hiring of 2,803 teachers for primary and secondary education in the budget proposal for next year, which is set to be discussed and voted on in Parliament on December 6th and 7th, with votes in favor of the majority of the Mozambique Liberation Front guaranteed. The government plans to acquire and distribute around 11,300 school desks, 22,491,500 books. It is also planned to build 773 classrooms for primary education and 22 secondary schools next year, as well as requalifying 90 primary schools across the country. The government estimates that primary education in the 2024 school year will have 7,426,426 students, secondary education 2,553,099, and professional technical education 115,756 students, while the number of adults attending literacy courses is expected to grow to 269,865. In our next story, South Africa's highest court has dismissed a challenge brought by independent political candidates to the way parliamentary seats will be allocated in next year's general election. The Independent Candidates Association had argued that reserving half of the 400 seats for political parties violated the rights of independence to equality and political participation. But the Constitutional Court upheld the law, arguing that limitations on independent candidates were justified in order to promote party representation in Parliament. We'll now take a quick ad break and bring you news from the rest of the globe. Stay tuned.
Namibians are still safe.
Everywhere else, the Supreme Court said we are not going to rely on foreign judgments.
By all means, we try to not make journalists public figures, but at the end of the day, they are.
Very good evening. My name is Taiwan Jabela, your host.
With their Protestant offsprings.
But the implementation, like she's saying, is another thing.
In international news this afternoon, 11 climbers have been killed and 12 more are missing after the eruption of Indonesia's Mount Merapi, local officials have said. 75 people were in the area when the volcano in West Sumatra erupted on Sunday, according to authorities, among whom 26 were not evacuated. There are 26 people who have not been evacuated. We have found 14 of them. 3 were found alive and 11 were found dead, said Abdul Malik, head of the Padang Search and Rescue Agency. Video footage of Sunday's eruption showed a huge cloud of volcanic ash spread across the sky and cars and roads covered with debris. A minor eruption on Monday forced rescue workers to suspend their operations. Indonesia sits on the Pacific's so-called Ring of Fire and has 127 active volcanoes, according to the country's volcanology agency, including the 2,891-meter Mount Merapi. Mount Merapi, which is currently on the second alert level of Indonesia's 4-step warning scale, is among the most active volcanoes on Sumatra. Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets in New Zealand to express opposition to the new government's policies towards indigenous people. Protesters gathered in front of the parliament and on motorways on Tuesday after the minor Te Pāti Maori Party called for nationwide demonstrations against the newly elected right-leaning government. The protest coincided with the opening session of New Zealand's 54th parliament following elections in October that ended 6 years of governance by the centre-left Labour Party. In a breach of protocol, Te Pāti Maori, which holds 6 seats in Parliament, swore oaths of allegiance to the upcoming generation and the Treaty of Waitangi, a colonial-era founding document between the British and the Maori people, before pledging allegiance to King Charles. The new National Party-led coalition has pledged to review positive discrimination policies, change the names of some departments from the Maori language to English, and strip legislation of references to the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. New Zealand police said 2 people involved in the demonstrations had been arrested, and there had been a disruption to traffic in a number of cities, including the largest city, Auckland. Stick around, news from the world of sports follows right after the break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Starting off our local sports news this afternoon, the spotlight is on Uganda, set to host the final leg of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup Africa qualifier. Among the fierce contenders is Namibia's national women's team, the Capricorn Eagles, who are poised to spread their wings and make a mark on the global stage. Scheduled to embark on their journey on 6 December, the Eagles are gearing up for an intense battle in Kampala, where the top 2 sides emerging triumphant will earn the coveted opportunity to represent Africa in the global qualifiers. Namibia is sending its best young under-15 age soccer talent to the CAF African Schools Football Championship. The qualifiers are scheduled to take place in Zimbabwe from the 14th to the 16th of December. It will be the country's debut in the zonal qualifiers, as they were absent during the inaugural championship in 2022. There are high hopes that they can achieve great things in the 10-nation tournament. The Brave Gladiators head coach Paulus Chipanga is confident that the team can score the necessary goals in today's clash with the Black Queens of Ghana in the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier second leg match in Johannesburg. In the first leg played last Friday, the Namibians faltered 3-1. Chipanga says they had a bad day at the office. Don't go anywhere. International sports news coming your way.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the
15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Getting straight into our international sports news, Manchester City have been charged by the Football Association with failing to control their players during Sunday's 3-3 draw with Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League. Several City players surrounded referee Simon Hooper late in the game after he stopped play when Jack Grealish was through on goal for a foul on Erling Haaland in the build-up, having previously waved play on. South African defender Janine van Wyk became the most capped African footballer of all time when she made her 185th international appearance on Monday in a 7-minute cameo against Burkina Faso that was contrived to give her the record. Van Wyk, 36, goes past former Egypt international Ahmed Hassan, who won 184 caps and was a stalwart for his side between 1995 and 2012. The South African, who did not play at the recent Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand due to injury, announced her international retirement in October, but was handed the 2 caps she needed to surpass Hassan in Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against the Burkinabe. The International Ice Hockey Federation has made the use of neck laceration guards mandatory in all its competitions following recommendations made by its medical committee in the wake of Nottingham Panthers forward Adam Johnson's death. Johnson died after his neck was cut by a skate blade of another player during a league game in Sheffield in October. Police arrested a man on suspicion of manslaughter over the incident. A British coroner overseeing the investigation into Johnson's death was among those calling for neck guards to be compulsory. Neck guards are already mandatory in the IIHF's under-18 and under-20 tournaments, but the sport's governing body has not set a date for the implementation at senior level due to supply concerns. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast after this break.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Top. Jou is weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik kan byt.
You're watching NMH at 1, and if you've just joined us, here are the news highlights from today's broadcast. The Mozambican government plans to hire almost 3,000 teachers next year, enroll about 10 million students, and build 800 classrooms. 11 climbers have been killed and 12 more are missing after the eruption of Indonesia's Mount Merapi. In local sports, the spotlight is on Uganda, set to host the final leg of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup Africa qualifier. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia and around. That is it from all of us here in studio. We do wish you a lovely Tuesday ahead.